you will end up misappropriating this money and taking it to be your own. Yet it is just what you're using to do the work that you're doing.
So ego is very dangerous to me, and we should avoid the extremes.
This program exists to equip, challenge, and empower men to expand their family leadership capacity for national transformation. Do you know that according to Dr. Sala Zarwango, who at that time in May 2022 was the acting director for health services at the Capital City Authority of Kampala, do you know that according to her, 53% of men in Kampala were diagnosed with mental illnesses, surpassing the number of women with the same challenge? Mm-hmm. Did you know, according to the Assistant Commissioner in charge of Reproductive Health and Infant Health at the Ministry of Health in Uganda in November 2023, Dr. Richard Mugahi, that there are more men who have mental health challenges at Butabika National Referral Hospital than women? Did you know, according to the World Health Organization, that the suicide rates are higher in men than in women at 12.6 men per 100,000 males compared to 5.4 per 100,000 females? By the way, did you even know that according to the Russell Group universities in the UK, 24 universities, when they increased the school fees, also mental health challenges increased among the students? Mm-hmm. Specifically, they said that there was a 28% increase in the number of students seeking mental health support at the very time when they increased the tuition to £9,000. In Uganda, this week is the new term. The new term has begun. Mm-hmm. And today we are talking about men's mental health as the new term opens. You are welcome to the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, your host, a certified executive coach, an award-winning leadership consultant, global speaker, facilitator, and author, the national president of the Fathers Union in Uganda, and the CEO of Inspired Leaders International, which is an international leadership development firm that empowers leaders to transform nations, and your host today. I have an interesting guest today in the studio, the author of Hope in the Age of Depression, How to Thrive Amidst Mental Health Challenges, the author of Broke by Choice, How to Move from Debts to Financial Independence, none other than Mr. Drileba Dratibi Daniel, the CEO of Voice of Restoration International. Dan, you're very welcome.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, and I'm encouraged to be here today.
Great.
It's been an honor and privilege to be here. We are honored. Mm-hmm. And today we really want to address this particular topic.
Please go right ahead, look into that camera and introduce yourself to our viewers, your family, your work. Let's get to know a little bit more about you.
Daniel Drileba Dratibi is still my name, the CEO of Voice of Restoration International. We are located in Arua, West Nile, and we do community-based mental health and psychosocial support programs. We do capacity building programs, we do trainings, we do empowerment of communities, and above all, I am, as said, an author of so far 8 books, but for today's purpose, I'm only carrying these 2 copies with us to be able to digest this topic. I'm also an award-winning mental health advocate and a certified financial literacy trainer by Bank of Uganda, among other things that I do. And I am very married.
You are very married.
Very married.
There are those who are married but not very
married.
No.
So I am married with the children. I have 4 biological children now. And I'm blessed to be here tonight. Yes.
I thought you were going to tell us about your wife. If you don't mind, go ahead.
Yeah. So today, just looking at this topic, as you said.
Go ahead, tell us about your wife.
My wife. Yes.
This being a family leaders program,
Thank you.
We emphasize those things.
Yes. My wife is Eva Amongin Drileba, and we've been married since 2017, and we are moving well. We keep pushing, we keep moving.
Awesome.
Yes.
So let's get to where the rubber hits the road. We are talking about men's mental health, especially as the term begins. My first question is, what exactly is mental health?
Now, mental health, by definition, is the well-being that enables every one of us to work well, to learn well, to realize our ability and our potential, to manage stress on daily moments, and also to be able to contribute to the community. That is mental health in simple terms. It is because of mental health that we're able to learn well, we're able to work well, we're able to manage our families well, we're able to lead well. That is because of mental health. But now,
some people would think it's because of money that we're able to eat
no.
well. Money makes you sleep
it's
well.
not the money that makes us to sleep well. It is mental health that makes us to sleep well. Because I know many people who have a lot of money, but they're struggling with mental health issues. I also know people who are very broke, also they're struggling with mental health issues. So mental health issues, it is from mental health that we are actually able to do well. Now, looking at the statistics that we've just had, last year there's a report which was published, which said 30% of Ugandans are mentally ill.
Yeah, 14 million Ugandans.
Now, that is 14 million. I want to tell you something here. The statistics that was done, that report was launched in my presence. In fact, it was on that day that I was given the award for mental health awareness award. But I can tell you that research was carried across the country, and people who were assessed were women and children, and men were not involved. If we were to add
about that one of 30%?
Yes, if we were to add men, the number is more. That is number one. Number two, let's look at it into the biblical perspective. There are more men who battle mental health issues in the Bible than women.
That one I knew.
So more men are actually battling, and now with this new term beginning,
men like Elijah, who even had to hide inside a cave.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at the term which is opening, the cases of mental health challenges is actually on the rise.
Okay, so let's go methodically. What are some of the signs that can show that this man is actually struggling with mental health concerns? How do you tell? Can you look at a brother and say, this brother is struggling with mental health challenges? What do you
There are obvious things that we look at. There are just basically 5 obvious things. Number one is the appearance.
The appearance. How he appears.
How he appears.
Okay.
Number one, if you see a brother, a man who has been very smart, but all of a sudden begins to appear untidy, doesn't bathe, doesn't wash, just shows up with dirty clothes, shows up anyway.
Drastic change in appearance.
Drastic change in appearance. He used to be very smart, but now he's very disorganized. Then you just know this brother needs help. Basic, from appearance.
But must the help that he needs be mental? It could be that he no longer has money to buy the nice clothes.
No. It's not about the nice clothing. Because the point here is somebody stops taking care of their basic hygiene.
Okay, you're talking of basic
appearance,
hygiene.
yes, basic.
And basic
doesn't
grooming.
bathe, doesn't brush, doesn't do the hair, shows up the way he is.
To whom it may concern.
The clothes are not washed, sometimes not ironed, they should not polished, shows up in office.
I hope you are not talking about those ones who also come and appear and their clothes look like for the mad people. You see, like a jean is tattered, it has its
Of
scarf.
course. You see,
I hope you're not talking about those ones.
You see,
they look to be okay, but
they're not okay. The first place is appearance. Then number two, in this appearance, if you see a man who is struggling, you will even see from the eyes. The eyes will show, because Bible even describes them, because the eyes will be red. That means they don't have enough sleep. Even some of them will even struggle with sleep. They will tell
some
you
of
they
them
don't
are even
sleep.
proud to call themselves Team No Sleep. Team No Sleep.
I can tell you, Team No Sleep, need help. You need help. Because sleep is needed by everyone. Because if you don't sleep, then there's a problem.
Okay, so the
then number 3, still in appearance, if somebody begins to have issues with the eating habits, because now they no longer eat food well, they no longer have appetite and all of that, this can manifest in the appearance.
Yes.
Now we go to thoughts.
Is that that's now number 2?
Yeah, number 2.
1 was appearance. Okay.
Then number 2, let's first go to speech. Number 2 is a speech. They either talk too slowly or too fast.
I thought that's sometimes basically personality, not mental health.
No.
There are people
who
just speak very quickly and they are okay. There are those who speak slowly.
No, it is
my friend Betty,
when you see all of a sudden somebody is talking too slowly and too rapid, there's a problem.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about that kind of speed, whether slow or quick, that is out of the ordinary.
Out of the ordinary.
That is okay. That is maybe even changing from what the person used to speak like.
Exactly. Okay. And then 2, in that speech, talking things which cannot connect to form a logical sentence. Talking things which are uncoordinated.
Communicative incoherence.
Yes, that too. And then there's a problem. And then also, in terms of this speech,
I'm now starting to suspect there are so many people who have it. Because somebody stands up and speaks, and after 5 minutes, you can't easily put a finger on a point he has.
Exactly. And then also, when you see somebody is having their own meeting with themselves, they're asking their question, they answer it, they are answering it, and they are talking alone, having their own board meeting with themselves.
Isn't that reflection, personal?
Leave alone the reflection. Personal reflection is beyond here now.
Yes.
This is where you see. Have you seen people who go on the roads but they are talking? They are talking to themselves.
They are using
the energy they put in talking about themselves and talking. You can really feel that something's wrong. Number 3. Now we go to perspectives. There are people who believe that somebody wants to harm them. They begin to think that somebody wants to harm them. There are people who want to kill them even when there is no evidence. They begin to they imagine so many things.
They have a feeling of insecurity.
They are insecure. They are so too much sensitive. They are hypersensitive, and they are just extremely suspicious.
They are on the lookout.
They are on the lookout. Somebody wants to harm them. Then somebody needs help here.
And I hope that doesn't include those who actually know that someone is after their life. That one is a different case.
That is different.
Okay.
And then also here, they begin to imagine that they are somebody when they are not. How somebody can begin to say that I am the president of the country when they are not. Because now they begin to have this feeling of being so big, so important.
They tell us that confession is possession.
No. There is where you confess and possess, but there's where we live. Now there's what we call psychosis. Psychosis is now where somebody lives in an unreal world. They live in imagination. Yes. They imagine they are somebody when they are not. So that is in terms of the perspective.
So that's a mental health sign.
Yes, it is.
That somebody is having a challenge.
Yeah. Still in appearance, when you see somebody stripping naked, still it is coming back to appearance. Stripping naked, you see somebody is removing clothes and all that. That is still the other side. Now, the 4th area we look at is in terms of mood. You see somebody is extremely sad, or somebody is extremely happy, or both. I want to explain. Somebody who is going through depression,
yes,
will be extremely sad. Now, somebody who goes through the episode of mania, they will be extremely happy. And then all of a sudden, then there are those who have both. In terms of those who have bipolar, for example, they have both extremes. At one moment, they're extremely happy. Yes. At one moment, they're extremely sad. So they keep oscillating between the two poles. Like a pendulum. Yes, they keep oscillating. So that is in terms of mood. You can be able to see.
So we can call it extreme mood swings.
Yes. But also there is where when somebody is battling depression, they are just very sad. Because first of all, depression is basically because of sadness. And then you have when somebody does not relate their moods well. For example, somebody expresses their feelings inappropriately. Somebody can laugh and smile at the same time says that they are very sad.
Yeah.
Then these two don't relate. If you're very happy at the same time you are sad, and then things are not
Emotional dissonance.
Yes. So, and then the last part, we can also be able to see that somebody actually has a problem. Now, still, there is this other part where somebody hears things others don't hear.
Hallucinations, that's what we call hallucinations.
Yes. And then also, they see things others don't see. Now, like we are here in the studio, somebody can choose to see a snake when there's no snake here. Or they see something which is scary to them, but others don't see this. So that is also something that we can be able to look at and say, I think this man has a problem.
Yes.
And then still with the mood, anger.
Volcanic anger.
Somebody is, of course I know, most men who are broke are always angry.
What have you just said?
When you see an angry man,
most men who are broke
are angry. Because we use anger as a mechanism for self-defense.
Oh, is it simply because, like they told us when we were still young, that a hungry man is an angry man?
Exactly,
so,
both.
Poverty brings hunger, and hunger causes
because
anger.
You see, anger, there are people who are extremely angry that this anger affects everything around them.
Yeah.
And I normally tell people up country that even when you are angry, your own local chicken run away from you. The day you have local chicken around you and they come close to you, you are peaceful. The moment you see local chicken run away from you and they keep a distance from you, there is a problem.
Isn't that
anger.
Superstition?
No, you try. Any moment you are not happy, you see birds often abandoning you. So anger is also an issue here to look at. Okay. Now, when you see somebody is in this extreme anger and you don't even understand why they are angry, then there's a problem. And then substance use.
So
alcohol and substance use.
Okay. Could we as well call it drug abuse?
Yes, that's now under drug abuse also. Okay. So when you see somebody is abusing, using alcohol, drug and substances, then you know they need help. Because many times people use this because now it is a soft landing for them.
Yeah.
They're using it to try to cope with the problem, but they're actually adding more problems. You see, I've talked about it in my book here. When you are very broke, in most cases, anxiety comes in.
Yes, of course.
Now, stress, anxiety, and depression, these ones move together.
Stress, anxiety
and depression. They're always cousins, they move together.
Maybe that's why even the acronym forms the word SAD.
Yes.
Stress, anxiety, and depression. SAD.
Exactly.
So you'll be sad.
Exactly. So, and then in most cases, most people here turn their frustration to alcohol and substances. Now, when you see, and the other challenge is now, you see, for us men, we are told to be a man.
Meaning what?
You don't have to talk. You don't have to express your emotions. You don't have to express your feelings.
Really?
You don't have to seek for help because you must be a man. And because of that now, you realize most men end up abusing substances because now they have no one to talk to.
Okay.
So they end up abusing substances. So, but then you realize this also affects their mental health.
All
so
right.
these are things that we can be able to look at to know that a man is actually struggling.
So 5 signs that a man is struggling with mental health. Number 1, the appearance. They get rugged, the red eyes, the basic hygiene is neglected, etc. Number 2, the speech, the pace of speaking, no point spoken, etc. Number 3, the perspectives. They keep assuming there are problems around them even when they are not. Number 4, extreme mood swings and hallucinations and volcanic anger. And number 5, substance abuse or drug abuse. Do you think that the expectations of the society that it has on a man could be at the center of most men struggling with mental health challenges?
Exactly. Number 1, there is this assumption that number 1, a man is a man, and therefore should not seek for help. Okay. So because of that, we are seeing the surge in the growth of cases of mental disorders. You see,
because that man is expected not to express himself and his emotions, and it is tagged onto the portrait of masculinity and manhood.
Exactly. Number 2, A man is not supposed to say, according to society, that he doesn't have.
Okay. He shouldn't like confess that he is
doesn't,
lacking. He
at
has
the moment
shortage
doesn't have. So because of that, you see a man then struggles. I can tell you, when you have deeper discussions, especially because I've been there myself, when somebody is struggling with the finances, is struggling with the debts, most times the borrowing is trying to prove and to try to cover here and there. But when he is digging more holes,
we call it compensatory behavior in
Exactly.
psychology. They are
So-
trying to have some activity and actions that are basically trying to compensate for what he thinks he lacks.
exactly. And then we, as men, also the other challenge is because of the society expectations, we live a life which is not our own.
Pretense.
We live in pretense. We live in denial. We don't really come out to say, you know what, today I don't have. But even when the young man is struggling, he's trying to prove a point. But in the end, he finds himself breaking down. Because now the demands and expectations overwhelm. You know, stress comes because you are unable to meet the demands. Your resources and the things that you have are unable to meet the demands at that time. So before you know it, you break down.
Yeah, instead of having more money at the end of the month, you have more month at the end of the money.
Exactly.
And the stress increases.
And the stress increases. So that's why the whole thing needs to come to a place where we need to get to a place to appreciate the fact that a man can also struggle. A man can lack.
Yes.
And therefore, men need...
Man can feel pain.
Yes, man can feel pain.
Let's add and say a man can cry.
I was actually coming to that.
In fact, you should say a man should cry when
A
there
man,
is pain.
you see,
I know
David-
now we are getting a little bit
David-
controversial here,
No.
but we have to ensure there is emotional hygiene in the corners
see-
of men too.
You see, David said something in Psalms 42. I always use that a lot in my mental health advocacy programs. You see, David says in Psalms 42, I want to quote verse 3, where Psalms says, Psalms 43, sorry,
42 verse
42
3.
verse 3. My tears have been my food, day and night. When men continually ask, where is your God? People cry. We cry. I've ever cried. You know? So we need to get to that place where we can honestly admit that actually, you know what? Today I'm not in my right mood.
Yeah.
Today, you know what? I'm really struggling. You know what? I need help. You know, when men come to that place of acknowledging that, you know what? Here I am vulnerable. I need help.
Yeah.
Then they will be helped.
Okay.
I also give example here. Jesus reached a place of his life and he told his 3 disciples, something I admire. He told his 3 disciples who look up to him. He told them that please pray for me. My heart is sorrowful unto death.
Was that when he was in the Garden of
Yes,
Gethsemane?
yes, please pray for me.
Yes.
Stand with me in prayer, pray for me. How many men can openly come and say, brother, pray for me? I am struggling in A, B, C, D. No one. Because of stigma, which actually we need to address, and we will have time to talk about stigma, addressing stigma, because the whole issue here is around stigma and the community expectations and how they view life.
And now this is the season, by the way.
Yes.
In Uganda, right now, today, the new school term has begun. The schools have opened. Children are going back to school.
Yeah.
Today I was in one of those big supermarkets and I saw everywhere men with their children, women with their children. They were shopping and you could see they are putting in those shopping carts scholastic materials, books and mathematical sets and all those kinds of things. Share with us, what are some of the common mental health challenges that most men go through around this kind of a time when they are taking back children to school?
Now, this particular time, the first thing, like I said, is triggered from stress. Stress begins by hitting us men to begin to experience anxiety.
So when the term is beginning, we become
anxiety.
anxious.
We become anxious. Why? Because we don't have enough resources to meet the demands of the new term. Others ask questions, so where do we get the fees?
Yes.
There are those who who got loans in first term to pay fees. The term ended and they are still halfway with the previous loan. So that means they must top up another loan to be able to cover this, because the resources that they have may not be enough. There are those who had planned for this, and therefore they have saved and they are comfortably pushing well. But a big number of men are not in that category of the planning team.
So anxiety is
heavy. Now, Proverbs 13, verse 12, reminds us that hope deferred makes the heart sick.
Hope
deferred makes the heart sick.
That is Proverbs 13.
13 verse 2. Sorry, verse 12.
Hope deferred makes the heart sick.
Now, if the man had hopes that he will get money at this time, and the money has not come through, that means the hopes have been deferred, so the heart will be sick. Now, when this happens, then we go to Proverbs 12:25, New King James. Anxiety, as I said earlier on, anxiety in the heart of man causes depression. But a good word makes it glad. That's now Proverbs 12:25, New King James. Now, you see, anxiety moves hand in hand with depression. And all this is triggered by stress. That's why from stress, anxiety, depression, sad. Now, after this...
And I think beyond depression, that's where we now have suicide and all that related kind of...
Yeah, we have those related kind of things. And then also, during this period here, somebody who has bipolar, if they are not very carefully taking their medications, this is also a time for relapse. Because bipolar, somebody has both extremes.
Yes.
So if what they have is not there, then they will sink into depression during this period. So men struggle. That's the reality. Men struggle. And but the beautiful thing here is the support. Help is there.
Okay. And that's why I would like us to zoom in on the financial aspect. In your view, how can men remain sober? Because now we have to fight for sobriety, for soberness. How can men remain sober, especially amidst the increasing cost of education in our country and even outside of this country? Because I've been reading a lot around the whole world. The cost of education keeps increasing, of course, relatively ranging from one country to another. In Uganda, it is skyrocketing. So how can a man remain sober amidst the increasing cost of education, whereby the school fees, it's pushing through the roof. The school requirements, something called requirements.
Is even more than the school fees.
Exactly. They ask your child to bring things that if you put them together, you start a supermarket. So if we zoom in on the finances, how can men remain sober amidst the increasing cost of education?
You see, I want to begin from a place of being a man and having lived this life before. In my book of Broke by Choice, if you can turn with me to page 15, from the copy you have there, you will see an interesting statement, financial statement.
How your financial statement looked like. I see an image there.
And I can tell you, because of loans, the financial institution was cutting 100% of the salary. And then you remain with the zero.
Yes.
I'm on page 15. You remain with the zero.
Yeah.
For 3.5 years. So I want to begin from there. How do you remain sober?
I have seen there loan repayment, zero. So, you hadn't paid the loan at that time.
No. The money was stopped for the loan.
Okay.
So as you can see here, the salary comes.
As the salary comes, December,
and then all of it is chopped. For loan
repayment, leaving zero,
and then balance is zero because all of it is chopped.
Yes.
And then you wait for the next month.
Salary also
comes.
January
All of it is chopped. Balance is zero.
Yes.
And
so how were you living? Because the balance was always zero every month.
Yes, I want to begin from there. How do you remain sober? I mean this because that's why I said
how come you are even still alive?
That's the point. You see, one of the things that I want to say is one of the things to help us remain sober is the realization that life can still move amidst the crisis.
Life can still move
Amidst
regardless of the
regardless
crisis.
of the crisis.
Realizing that
keep
it's not the end of life.
No, it's not the end of the life. It kept me moving. That's number one. Number two, the support system you have plays a very big role. In this case, I want to, the spouses we marry play a very big role.
Say that again, especially for the man on the camera in this studio.
The spouses we marry play a very big role in our lives as men. Because as men, we struggle with the finances. That's the reality. We struggle. So during this kind of struggle, the support from the spouse is very critical.
Otherwise, you may think you married a wife only to realize you married a knife.
A knife. But I'm very glad to my wife that through this time, she was very supportive and she kept encouraging.
Thank you, Eva. We appreciate.
But then also certain things that needed to be done. Number one, not trying to live in isolation because of the crisis. For us men, there is a tendency that when we are going through this kind of crisis, we choose to sit back.
We hibernate in the language of computers.
Exactly.
We hibernate.
We are in our houses. We don't leave the house because you feel you are nobody. You feel you are not good enough because you cannot even now afford the bare minimums.
TD Jack says we enter the cave.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to encourage men out there. Don't live in denial. Reach out for help. Reach out for help. And amidst this kind, how do you also keep sober? One of the things that kept me sober was the fellowship I had with fellow men. Because some fellow men, kept telling us their different stories.
Yes.
While I was struggling with this, another also had a bigger one.
It forces you to put your life in perspective.
So I was like, I'm not alone, so there's no way I can quit. I will live through this. And after all, the only way out is through, so I will go through this.
Thank you, Fathers Union, for giving me that fellowship where I can go and meet you, my fellow men, during the men's garage every first and the third Friday of the month in Kamocha. I appreciate you, my brothers.
Fellow men, reach out, come out for fellowships, because fellowships will help. I want to bring something here. You see, in the days of the early church, I'm talking about Acts chapter 2. Why there were few cases. Actually, if you read the New Testament, there are few cases of mental disorders.
Yes.
Few cases. Why? Because in the early church, in Acts chapter 2, the brethren, the men, will come together for fellowship.
Verse 42, 43,
44, up to
47.
47.
Yes.
Yeah. So men will come together for fellowship. Women also will come. Everybody will come for fellowship. Then at the fellowship, they will pray together. They will read the word of God together. They will encourage themselves together. And if anyone had a need, they will say, you know what? This is my struggle. I have this need.
And they meet it.
And they meet it there and then.
Yes.
And the people who were praising God, the Bible says that there were signs and miracles happening. And because of that, the church grew.
Yes.
And God kept adding to the number daily, those who were saved. Daily. That means every year you will expect 365 new members who have been saved.
And I think one of the tricks was that in each of those fellowships, there was food.
There was food. There was fellowship.
They called it breaking bread.
They called it breaking bread together. There was honest with gladness of heart and with honesty. You see, if men can get to that place, because the problem right now is we live in denial.
But why do you think men live in denial and in isolation?
Reason number one.
Even when they know they are not alone, there are other people.
Reason number one is stigma.
Okay.
Stigma, you see, stigma is in 5 areas. That's one thing that I talked about in this book here, Hope in the Age of Depression. Because I have lived through this myself. I'm aware of the impact of stigma. I'm aware of what men go through in terms of stigma. Because there are 5 angles of stigma that I talked about in this book here. Number one is the societal stigma.
Yes.
How the society sees those who don't have.
When you say those who don't have, you mean those who lack financially?
Who lack.
Okay.
And then also who are struggling, but then society sees them as nobody.
Okay.
And because of that, nobody wants to prove that they're nobody. So they fear to come out. Number 2, structural stigma or institutional stigma.
Institutional.
You see, this is to do now with the policies. There are places of work where you must act rich in this country.
Wow.
You must act rich. But even when you are struggling, every day at work you must appear in suits. Very smart. But when you are Outside you are very smart, but inside you are rotting.
But is that acting rich? It is simply looking professional.
No,
it
is
depends
acting
upon the
rich.
angle from which you
It
look.
is acting rich
Because-
because there are professions where even you are not expected to eat from some places.
Yeah, because reputation
You,
matters.
exactly, the name,
Institutional
the institutional reputation.
Yes.
So at the end of the
If you
day,
realize
you see,
that
the
that's
man
not
is
your place,
struggling, but the man is here because of the issues around the policy of the workplace.
And sometimes, most likely, that kind of a place will also be paying you relatively higher than other places. That's why they have such policies.
It depends.
They know you.
But I've also had interactions with the men in that kind of environment,
Yes.
and they have given the other opposite.
That's true. That's true too.
So because of now that, people fear opening up, because how will I, at my level, how will I, with all my titles and dignity, how do I come and ask for help? You know, that comes there. And then the number 3 is the self-perceived stigma.
Self-perception.
Yeah. How will people see me if I ask for help?
Okay.
Even first of all, what are people thinking about me?
So it's like self-inflicted.
Yeah,
type of
it is a
stigma.
self. Yeah, it is because you're looking at yourself. You're asking yourself, what are people thinking about me?
I talked about self-inflicted type of stress in
Exactly.
this book. They are stresses we bring to ourselves.
In fact, in my stress management sessions, I normally call self-imposed.
Yes.
We invite the stress and impose it on ourselves. So that's number 3. Then number 4 is the healthcare stigma.
Stigma.
The healthcare practitioner
Okay.
stigma.
Is that like when you go to a hospital with a challenge and they laugh at you?
Exactly, they can laugh at you, or they can talk bad about you.
Yeah.
I want to give a simple thing here. I'm sure you saw a post on Facebook or on WhatsApp which was saying Butabika is a fool. Run mad at your own cost.
That do what?
Run mad at your own cost.
Run mad at
your own cost.
at your own risk because Butabika is full.
Yeah. Did you
They
see
meant,
that post?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so ugly. And one of the persons who actually shared that particular thing, where they took the picture of Butabika Gate and then wrote that thing. And one of the persons who actually shared that is somebody I know who is actually a healthcare practitioner. So when such people begin to post such things, you know, it actually stigmatizes more. So nobody wants to come out for help in that regard.
Okay.
Then the last one is associative stigma.
Associative stigma.
If you have a brother who is struggling,
Who has mental health challenge.
has a mental health challenge, or is just struggling in any way,
Okay.
when you are in a fellowship of fellow men, and when such a brother appears, you feel embarrassed. And in fact, you will do whatever it takes to actually hide him and keep him somewhere until your fellowship with the other elites is done. Then you can.
I hear you. I once had a relative who had that kind of a child in the home, and definitely I could see that kind of behavior you've described.
So because of that, people then fear to come out for help. So those are the 5 areas of stigma that we must be able to address as fellow men. To know that every man can actually thrive.
Okay.
Every man can struggle. All of us struggle. You know, there is one place where you can be in a place of struggle, but then when you are helped, things come out. So I want to give the example here. Please don't feel shy. I always use the Bible to explain mental health issues. You see, when Job lost everything that was dear to him, it took the 3 friends of Job who said, let's go and visit our brother. He's our friend. Let's go and sympathize with him. When they arrived, I imagine they appeared in their suits. But where they saw Job was not in a suit in any way. So what they did was they first had to remove their coats. They had to
identify
they
with
had
him,
to
or?
tear their clothes. They had to remove their expensive suits. And they sat with the Job where he was to able to identify with him. You know, and then
So
Bible
are you
says
saying we should, for
they
example,
sat-
be poor in order to
no.
identify with the poor?
This is not about to being poor to identify with the poor, but the point here is trying to relate with those who are even struggling.
Okay.
Okay, so here,
Empathy.
yeah. So Bible says that for 7 days and 7 nights, these friends never said any word. Nobody said a word. But then in Job chapter 3, Bible says that Job opened up. He began to speak.
Yes.
Now he began to pour out his heart. He began to pour out his frustrations. And, you know, these men offered one thing which was very critical, psychological first aid.
Psychological first aid. What's that?
This is where you're able to offer somebody support. The first support any struggling man needs is not even money.
It's mental.
Is presence.
The ministry of presence.
Yes. You know, when you are present with the fellow man who is struggling, when you give your time to be with them, they appreciate it. Why? Nobody cares about them. But then when you show up and then show concern, they say, I think I'm still able to make it. And then it is from there that Job said, I know my Redeemer lives.
Yeah.
The song we are singing, my Redeemer, it is Job who said it, but after going through that kind of struggle.
All right. A few minutes ago, you warned us that we should be careful who we marry, because that will determine whether we navigate through these mental health challenges or not. And that makes me curious to ask, how can wives support their husbands to remain mentally healthy, especially as the term begins, as the school term begins?
As the term begins.
How can the wives support their husbands to remain mentally healthy, especially as the school term begins?
Support and encouragement is all a man needs.
What kind of support? Encouragement, we understand. Support, what do we mean?
Support in terms of, now I want to give this. My wife has, for a good number of years, she has been the one paying the house, buying the food in the house. At the time when I couldn't make it.
Okay.
That, like I said, that kept me moving. Because there was a support coming through, you know. And so that's where it is important for spouses to understand that everybody struggles. Number two, when they see that the young man is struggling, now with all these symptoms that we've talked about, the next support is to see that this man actually gets help, either for counseling or for treatment, because treatment is there.
Okay.
And I've seen women who have actually supported their men through this kind of hardships, and their men never broke down.
Yes.
And even those who broke down were able to receive treatment.
They recovered quickly.
They recovered quickly. So that's where we normally focus more on family mental health. Why? Because the family plays a very big role here. And the spouses, I want to encourage, where the man is unable and you are able, support. It is healthy to be able to support, because when it doesn't
you are on the same team.
Yeah, you are a team. But
otherwise,
now,
you become like the one I heard, the lady who said, yes, my husband is the head of the family, but I am the leader of opposition. I said, you are the what? I am the leader of opposition in the family.
That's where, you see, Bible is clear that he will give a man a suitable helper. It's not good for a man to be alone, but he will be given a suitable helper. So the point here is, you only need the help in your point of weakness.
Yeah.
You don't need the help in your area of strength.
Okay.
You need the help in your area of weakness. So when you are weak in that area, and the spouse can be able to support, that will be very good. So please, I want to call upon women out there. Please, if you have been the leader of opposition, please
join
resign
the government of your family.
Join the government team of your family.
Yes.
And I know oppositions normally come because of stress that comes within there. Because normally where there is a stress and the home becomes very stressful, then there is always a leader of opposition that arises.
And sometimes it can even be a child, by the way.
And it can be a child who rises to be the leader of opposition, but opposing everything here and there. But please, let's be sober. And even when we are budgeting, let's budget with the mental health in mind.
What does that mean? Does it mean that I put aside money that can take me to hospital when I become mentally problematic?
No.
Planning.
I mean, when we are budgeting, now this now comes back to financial literacy area.
Yes.
When we are now budgeting, let's budget with the realistics. Let's budget with what is the ideal. What is real there? Because now there's where we walk by faith. But there's a place where we must be able to look at what is there and we work with what is there.
Some people will think that is thinking small.
No.
You have to think big and have big, audacious, hairy goals like Brian Tracy calls them.
If the income at that season is 1 million, work within the 1 million. If the season changes, I know God restores seasons. If the season changes and God doubles the incomes, then you can also increase the expenditures.
I thought there you would increase the investment so that the future is better.
All works because now I'm looking at in terms of school fees now.
Okay.
You see, the school fees you're looking at, every parent wants the best school for their child.
But the word best is also relative.
But now, this is where now you need to look at how much do I actually have. That's where now you must budget with mental health in mind. In that you budget with what you have. You don't budget with what you don't have.
So in other words, your financial decisions and plans should be able to keep you sober and not cause you mental stress and strain.
That's the point.
For example, taking your girl or your boy to that high-end school that you can't afford just because your fellow workmates take their children to that school. So that's now an action, a financial action that exacerbates mental health problems.
Exactly. Because now the point here is if your income for this season is 1 million and you are paying fees of 4 million, question is, where are you getting the extra 3 million? So this must,
the future today.
This one must, whether you like it or yes, will drive you into anxiety. It will drive you into depression. It will drive you to become very stressed. That's why I'm saying budget with mental health in mind.
As we come to the close of this program, we just have about 6 or so minutes to come to the end. What are some of the resources that are available for men who are struggling with mental health issues? What are some of the resources available that they can use to get better? I think the first one is a book like this.
One is a book like this.
Hope in the Age of Depression. And busy and loving it. Enjoy a happy life amidst stressful situations.
Exactly.
What are the other resources available for men to use?
Another resource they need to use is the Word of God. Because amidst all the chaos, the Word of God has kept me moving. Another resource that men must be able to really work it out and make sure they maximize is fellowship.
Having a band of brothers with whom they meet and talk. Be involved in the fellowships. Because it is from fellowships that, your network is your network. Your network is your net worth. So if you are lonely and you don't have people to talk to, you don't have somebody to encourage, you don't have anyone to relate with, things keep falling apart. I can tell you, in these crisis moments, there were seasons where fellow men were the ones lifting me up and said, please, there's this thing, can you also do this? There is this, can you have this? Can you do this? Can you do that? These connections and these programs can help to be able to keep working as you keep making ends meet. Then also, one thing I want to do is invest in yourself as men. Invest in yourself. Now, talking about investing in yourself, this is where somebody has to take a deliberate effort to invest in themselves, first of all. In that, you must be able to acquire knowledge. You must, because, you see, everything falls and rises on knowledge. That's why the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Even Proverbs chapter 19 verse 2 says,
exactly,
zeal
without knowledge
is a bad combination.
So please, you could be, you have the zeal for something, you have the passion for something, please give yourself to learning.
In fact,
seek knowledge.
The contemporary English version says it in a very dangerous way. It says that passion and stupidity don't go well together.
Exactly, you can't. So invest in yourself. Get time to be able to build your capacity, build yourself up.
Unfortunately, by the way, my brother, unfortunately, men are missing out in learning spaces.
Yeah.
I am in the human resource world. I am in human capital development as a certified executive coach, as a trainer, facilitator. I see this every day. You go to a workshop, seminar, conference, summit, symposium, colloquium, call it whatever. You will always find that men are so few
men and more women.
Exactly. And for me, my point is not that the women are coming. My point is that the men are not joining them.
Exactly. So
seeking, knowledge.
Men must be able to invest in knowledge. Investing takes resources. I want to give an example here. During COVID, everything was falling apart, and I remember at some particular day, I remained with the 70,000
Ugandan shillings.
Ugandan shillings.
Because when you say 70,000 and an American is
Yeah,
watching,
70,000
says,
Ugandan
wow,
shillings.
$70,000.
So I was stuck. So, and then while we were there, I just told my wife, you know what? This money, let's invest it in buying a book. She said, but how? We need to buy food. You know, COVID.
Not the book.
You know,
We
this
don't eat
lockdown.
books.
We don't eat books. We eat food. I told her, well, but I know if we bought this book will actually help us. Then said, but you with the books? I said, yeah, we might. So I can tell you, one of the books, she has been reading it, and up to now I've not seen it again. Because the book was too good that she said, this one is now my own.
Yes.
And this book was straightforward finance.
Financial growth.
Yes, financial
By
growth.
Moses Mukisa.
Exactly. So we got that book, and then I bought another book, Living Your Brand, by Kamara,
Yes.
Ario Kamara. So I bought those two books for exactly 70,000 because each was 35, and we didn't have the Porsche or the beans. I said we shall leave, but I can tell you during that season, something just changed after we read those books. Something just shifted. Our perspectives, the way we see things changed. Then we began to look at it another direction. And while we got to that, and then I was able to get in touch with the authors, and then we were able to discuss and talk here and there. And guess what? My eyes opened.
Well,
Even her eyes opened. Up to now, she has kept that book religiously. No kid can play around with it.
Wow.
You know,
That's amazing.
let's invest in books. Let's invest. You know,
Okay.
just a sentence can change every situation around.
All right. What is your parting shot, my brother? Our topic today has been men's mental health, especially as the new school term begins. In less than a minute, give your final words and we end the program.
Fellow men out there, help is available. You could be struggling in your own house. You could be struggling wherever you are watching this program from. Please just know you are not alone. Help is available. Reach out for help. Reach out for support groups. And if you need one-on-one sessions, please don't feel shy. Let's break the stigma around mental health. Seek for help. And two, while we are working through this season, let's believe God for resources, and let's work hard for these resources, and God will bless the work of our hands. And above all, as we are budgeting this term, as we are budgeting for this term, please budget with mental health in mind. Don't allow yourself to budget in a way that you are going to allow stress, anxiety, and depression to strike you because of the decisions that you have taken, because of the financial crisis that you might invite you on yourself. Otherwise, help is there. We are here to support, and together we can do more. And I want to also say this, please never walk alone.
Thank you so much. Never walk alone. That sounds like something to do with some football team somewhere that says you will never walk alone.
Exactly.
You Liverpool fans, you must be a Liverpool fan.
I am. And it is actually what has kept me moving.
At never walk alone.
You never walk alone.
Liverpool. This marks the end of our program today, gentlemen who are watching and ladies who are watching. What we are talking about here is that as the term begins, quite often we get anxious. As schools open, parents become anxious. And you know, today we kept on saying men, simply because this program, the primary target, the primary audience are the men, the family leaders. But you know, all that we've talked about applies to you, my sister, you, my auntie, you, my mom, you, my daughter. It applies to all of us. These are principles. When the term is opening, we tend to be quite anxious. But it's very important that we put life in perspective. Put life in perspective. Have the hope. But just to know that whereas hope is the last thing you should ever lose, hope is not a strategy. So have hope, don't lose it, but also put in place practical, pragmatic, realistic strategies that can help you to reduce your levels of anxiety next time. So that maybe as the term is opening next term, things will be looking different. You won't be among those who have more month at the end of the money instead of more money at the end of the month. You won't be one of those fathers, you won't be one of those mothers who always asks how many months are in January. Blessed are those who overspend in December, for they shall see the fire of January. That can be changed. So have hope, but hope is not a strategy. Decide to put in place financial safeguards through saving. It could be personal saving, as an individual. It could be a corporate collective saving in circles, in investment clubs, in multipurpose cooperatives. It could be investing in unit trusts, in treasury bonds, treasury bills. It could be landed property. Whatever it is that you can invest in, do that. Do something concerning your finances, so that next time you have no anxiety as the term begins. In fact, I will be glad to hear that some of you now are paying school fees for your children 3 terms in advance. That is something that is more than possible. That for you at the beginning of the year, you clear the fees for the year, then you focus on other things, right? But anyway, it's not only about the finances like we have talked about today. It's about your emotional hygiene, what you're doing. Care for yourself. Self-care is very important. I just hope self-care, that sometimes people call self-love, will not turn into selfishness. Know the boundaries. Nonetheless, keep caring for yourself. Go for those hobbies. Go for swimming. Do the physical exercises. Release those emotions that need to be out of you. Get into prayer, meditation, and all those spiritual disciplines that will center you strongly internally. At the end of the day, we need all of us to be healthy. Not only physically healthy, but also spiritually healthy, emotionally hygienic, and most importantly, in the context of today, mentally healthy. Until next time, this has been the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, your host. Make sure that you keep living exemplarily, you keep loving relationally, and you keep leading authentically. See you next time.
Just one wife. That you need the leadership skills of a general.
Yes.
To lead an army of one woman.
So we have to take a lot of pain, a lot of effort to teach children how to get along with one another.
Your raw material is money.
Of course.
But it is not your money.
It is not
That
yours.
is the biggest challenge. So if you do not fear God, you will end up misappropriating this money and taking it to be your own.
Capacity for national transformation.